If you like to improve your animations by 1% every single day, then here's 5 tips to help you with that. So, my name is Harvey Newman, and I like to help out and to share my passion for animation here in this channel with all of you. Here you can learn a lot about animation, how it is to actually work in the games industry, and most importantly, passion and career. How do you actually kind of like do this thing called animation professionally? I've been doing it for a while now, and I like to share it with all of you. Now, if you actually enjoy this content, consider subscribing and pressing the like button, because it helps a lot for YouTube to know that this content is useful and can help out more people out there, especially aspiring animators. Also, I have a website, harveynewman.com. Make sure to check it out because I have a workshop. So if you actually are wanting to learn animation or actually struggling with something, would like show reel reviews or anything that actually comes up with, then feel free to check it out. The workshop is very flexible, and in my workshop you can rest assured that it's going to be a one-on-one. It's going to be live sessions, and we're going to talk about exactly what can improve on your show reel, on your skills, and it's going to be catered to you specifically. So make sure to check it out. Now let's get on with this episode. Improving your animations by 1% all the time. Believe it or not, all the tips that I'm going to say next are going to be incredibly important, even though they are not specifically catered to Maya. And the reason why is because Maya is just a piece of software where you do animation. Well, animation is much bigger than just a piece of software like Maya or Blender or anything else, right? So animation is a state of mind, and animation is definitely the biggest impact that you can have is your organization skills, how you organize yourself, and also how you think about animation in order to make the most out of it. The very first thing that I have to tell you in terms of like this idea that you can actually better yourself by 1% every single day, and this, at least that's how I see, how I actually managed to get to this place. And the very first tip is to write down what you want to achieve. And this is basically anything that you have in your mind right now that you want to achieve for the day. So let's say you are working on a shot, you sit down and then you look at your shot and then you analyze it yourself and you'll be like, okay, so this is the things that I break down that I want to achieve today, right? That will give you a goal for the day that you can actually not leave the computer until you clean up those things, 10 things, 15 things, as many things as you can find that you think are doable in a day. You write them down and you'll be like, this is with the stuff that I'm going to do. Therefore, you don't leave your chair until you fix those things. And that's kind of important, because just sitting in your chair and animating with no end goal means that you either work too much or you don't work enough. There's no in between, because you normally have a tendency to like just noodle on some things for too long, like an arm movement or anything that is very specific, instead of the whole scene. So write down what you want to do now, but also go further than that. So say you actually want to finish this shot in a month, right? What do you need to do every single week in order to finish this shot? So set yourself some goals. So by week 1, I need to be here. By week 2, I need to be here. By week 3, I need to be here. And then in my final week, I can polish things, right? So set those goals. And then as you work on your shot every single day, then start to check out how are you in comparison to those goals. Are you behind or are you ahead? And this writing down your goals and where you want to be will help you in the long term in your career, because what you're going to have a lot is deadlines and people telling you have a week to do it, you have 3 days, you have a day, you have half a day to do your animations. So you can ramp yourself up whenever you need to in order to meet the goals if they are very aggressive, or you can slow yourself down to make sure that you can pay attention to the details when they give you plenty of time. And that is something that you can only practice by knowing how much you can achieve within a certain amount of time. And for you to know how much you can achieve in a certain amount of time, you need to start writing down and calculating your time based on what you're writing and based on what you're achieving, right? So really important to do this. And it creates a psychological thing in your head that you are starting to achieve your goals because you wrote them down, and now after a month you finished your shot as you planned. And that feeling is really powerful because it makes you feel like you know what you're doing. And now on the next shot, maybe you're not going to take a month. Maybe you're going to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So now you're getting faster or better. Or maybe you still take a month, but the shot is going to be even better. What kind of things can you improve on, right? So very important to write your things down, your animations, your notes down, your own notes, to make sure that you keep on trucking along forward and actually having a pacing for you as an animator. Second tip for you to improve yourself 1% every single day is to not just animate, but also read and be inspired. So myself, the way I work, I got stuck into animation for a long time, and I thought the more I animate, the better I'll become. So therefore, I need to dedicate 24 hours a day, 7 times every single day of the week. You need to actually just animate, and because you actually like to work hard, you're going to be a better animator. Unfortunately, that doesn't work that way because you actually burn out. And that has happened to me many times, especially early on in my career, because what I thought to myself is like, I can work hard, I know I can work hard, so let me just show with hard work you can achieve whatever you want. And you know, it's somewhat true, you need to work hard for sure, but finding the balance between working hard and working smart is very difficult in the beginning, and it's something that you really need to do, because working smart is what you're looking for. You're not looking for working hard, because no one can work hard throughout their whole career, because animation takes a lifetime and your body was going to give up, or you're going to have a breakdown, or something bad is going to happen to you. So you need to work smart. By working smart means that you're actually working and making sure that you're doing the best with the time that you have. Now, within that time that you have, you can spend it all the time animating, but what's going to happen is that you're going to feel tired of animation, and the passion for animation is going to start fading away with time. Or you can balance yourself. And by balancing yourself, I mean animate, but then know when to switch off. Especially when you're feeling it. When you're feeling that animation and you're feeling like, I cannot give up now because I'm really enjoying it, and you already spent 2 weeks working on it non-stop, then stop. Because what that will give you is space in your mind to then feel fresh whenever you come back. So take a couple of days, take 2 or 3 days to make sure that you can read books. Maybe you actually like that animation book that you never finished, make sure you come back to it, read more about it, kind of like expand your mind, look at other sources. Like I like to read comics, but look at other sources of art that you can get inspiration from. In those 2 or 3 days that you're going to actually switch off from animation, they are going to be very productive, because when you come back to your seat and you sit down and you actually are ready to animate, you are going to be fresh mentally, but also your mind is going to expand a little bit in order for you to actually have extra ideas to add to your shot. And that is really rewarding, because it means that you can now see the mistakes perhaps that you couldn't see before, because animation blindness is a thing. I've mentioned it in a previous video. Make sure you go and check it out. But make sure that you like see the things that are wrong now. You're like, okay, I didn't see these things, let me address them. But also you feel fresh and you feel supple, and you're like, you know what? I was feeling it before, but 3 days later, now I'm feeling it even more. Let me finish the shot, because it's gonna be bananas by the time I finish it. And this is what I mean by actually working smart and working balanced, to make sure that you always never push yourself too hard that you go over the edge. Always know your limitations, and just before you kind of hit that like line that you know you cannot come back from, make sure you stop, and then you take some time, you kind of read some stuff, disconnect your mind, and then go back to it fresh whenever you can. This is only for your own shots. Obviously, whenever you are doing work, you're working professional, you have to work 5 days a week. But for your own shots, when you're actually getting your show real ready, this is what matters most, because this is going to be the best work that you can do, and you need to actually make sure that it comes out the best it can. Now, tip number 3 for you to better yourself 1% every day is not animation related, is to surround yourself with like-minded people. Because this is like it sounds obvious and superfluous maybe, but this really helps you. Because if you actually surround yourself with like-minded people, other animators or aspiring animators, it means that you can share notes and you can share passion, and you're going to be hyped by the next man. You're going to be like, man, he did such a good job here, then let me do something cool here. And no envy, no nothing, just genuinely like love for animation and how can we actually kind of sort this out. How do you work? Let me show you how I work. All of that stuff will help you to kind of like keep momentum, because if you don't have anyone around you that is doing animation, I didn't have anyone around me, there's going to be so many times that you're going to doubt yourself, that you're going to think that this is not for you because it's too hard. And animation is incredibly hard. So if you surround yourself by people that think like you, that are artists like you, that are working as hard as you, it means that those days that you feel like you're about to give up, you're going to look at Pedro and Bob and Peter and you're going to be like, nah, they're doing a great job. If I give up now, I'm going to let them down, so I'm not going to do that. This is why it's so important to surround yourself by like-minded people, positive people, people that push you forward instead of dragging you down, right? So make sure you do that. So point number 4 is kind of like together with point number 5, but point number 4 is don't continuously rework your animations. I used to do that also in the beginning, that I thought a shot was so good that I would spend months and months and months and months just reworking one shot, because you are continuously getting better as an animator and you're gathering new skills. So there's always one shot that you're going to be like, if I go back to that shot now, 6 months later, I'm going to be able to do a much better job than I did back then. If I go back to it 2 years down the line, it's going to be even better. I can actually now make it shine. But the more you rework your animations, the more time you're taking away from other animations that you can be putting your time in that are brand new and can teach you way more than the animation that you actually had like 2 years ago, right? So don't constantly do that. If you have one shot that you know that it can be great, then yeah, sure, that's okay. But always strive to actually kind of like do that animation. Animation is never complete, but finish the animation as much as you can. It's probably not going to be happy with, but put it aside and now work on something new. Because every time you work on something new, you kind of learn so much more than going back to an old shot and just reworking it again. Having said that, there's no harm in going back to an old shot and trying to actually solve an issue that you had that you didn't know how to solve, and now you kind of like trying to rework it in with your new knowledge. Do you know how it works now? That is interesting, because that means that maybe the spacing and the timing or whatever you had that you couldn't nail before, a year later you can go back to that shot and be like, do I understand spacing now? Do I understand timing? Do I understand what an ease in and ease out is? Let me put it in this shot and see how that works. If it works and you've solved it, then good times, you learn something new. So you can use it as a reinforcement of learning. However, try not to get into the habit like myself to kind of just rework your shots in the hopes that it's going to be epic one day. Just continuously work on new things. And last but not least, point number 5 is make sure you finish your animations. Now, once again, sounds obvious, but the amount of people that I know, and I myself included in that as well, that I've started animations thinking this is going to be the most epic shot ever, and a week later you'll be like, nah, I'm just going to work on something else. And you do that again and again and again, and then next thing you know, you have worked in about 10 different animations, but none of them are done or even started. Maybe you're kind of like halfway through one, but there's no animation that is done. And that's a problem, right? That means that you're being lazy about it, and you need to finish what you started. And it's something that kind of sets a precedent for something that can be really bad in the future, especially when you start working professionally, because when you work professionally, you definitely need to finish everything you start. That's what they're paying you for, right? So the easier and the faster that you actually get used to it early on in your career, especially when you work on your show reel, to actually finish what you started, then you're actually going to be used to it by the time you're a professional. So finish your animations when you start them. Final thoughts. Yeah, all of these points are all meant to kind of like teach you guys or how to get better a little bit more. 1%, I don't know, maybe it's going to be more for some people. I hope it's at least 1% for everybody. I feel like it was 1% for me, but then again, my scale, I feel like my scale, like I'm still at 20%. I feel. And I like to stay here because animation takes a lifetime to learn, and then hopefully I can get to 100 by the time I I'm 90 years old, let's say, right? So hopefully these things help you out. Once again, thank you so much to all my supporters in Patreon. Here's their names. They have been amazing people to actually support me in the way they do. And if you actually consider supporting me in this channel, in what I do, then please consider going over to Patreon and supporting me. I'm actually taking a lot of the stuff that I do behind the scenes, including shooting these videos, and posting them over there, and then starting a conversation with everyone that supports me as well. So you can guys get to see a little bit more behind the scenes and how I do things, and also comics as well that I read, and there's so many more things that I want to share with all of you in Patreon. So check it out. I hope you guys like it. And that's all I had for you guys today. As always, stay well, stay safe. Peace.